Hi, welcome to the Toilet Paper Diaries. This week, we are aware that the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden is going on. We're not attending. We're hunkered down somewhere safe. Just avoid any fireworks if you know what I'm saying. So instead, what we have for you is a very special show. All the blueprints, all the knowledge, all the business tips you could ever want. Stay tuned for the Secret Toilet Paper Diaries.
Episode 84, Dave. And right now we're doing it in Inauguration Day. Who would have said?
Well, there's so many stories and so many things we want to talk about. We're actually working on a couple of shows to explain our thoughts about all the different elements and breaking down what's happened, but we're not ready to share that with you yet because it's such a work in progress. And also, you can't take your eyes off the ball just in case somebody starts a riot on top of it. So today's show is all about the stuff that you need to be able to make your business thrive and do even better stuff. And so, as always, we suggest you get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a note, a pen and paper, and start creating your blueprint. Everything you need is right here, right now.
We have so much incredible stuff that was only delivered to our clients, to our customers behind closed doors. And for the first time, we're actually airing them live. So make sure to enjoy, and we'll see you in a moment. Would you like to know how to completely change the way that you are positioned on the internet right now in the virtual world? My suggestion to you guys is to start thinking like a broadcaster. You mentioned a little bit earlier, Dave, that's your title. That's a title that you assumed the moment that we went on lockdown. So why a broadcaster?
The reason for being a broadcaster is because ultimately, if you're a speaker, it means that you go out and you do stuff on somebody else's stages. Generally, you need to have help. If you are a broadcaster, you've become a media house. Now, the thing about being an influencer, or the thing about being able to use any of the social media, is most of them now have a live or going live version. So the minute you go live on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or any of those things, you're making a broadcast. Now, once upon a time, broadcasting was something that would only be available for the big boys, for the BBC, for CNN, for Fox, for all these different organizations. They would be the people producing content for the world, and we're respected for that. Now, with fake news and various other things, now anybody can be a media house. Now anybody can broadcast. So part of it is semantics, the way you say it, but also it's about creating content that's relevant that people would want to watch. Not just posts, not somebody else's videos, but actually creating your own stuff, like you were making a very short TV show or very short video, and you know that it has influence and impact. That's why everyone should be considering curating content and becoming a broadcaster.
You were mentioning the BBC and CNN. Now, if you think about it, CNN also started in a different way, but in the same way as now everybody could actually get started. And that's, I think, it's the moment of change into your mindset. I want you to start thinking like Ted Turner, and I don't want you to think like an egomaniac, because if you're creating content, there's two kinds of content. There's selfish content, that you're creating content talking about how incredible you are and how many accomplishments have you got. But there's also content that is going to be very useful for your target audience. And that's what you have to be thinking about. And that's the important thing. Now, I have a video right now here from Ted Turner, which in the 1980s, he explains why he created CNN. Have a look.
I know that we will succeed, and I pledge to you that we will not let the American public down. I wanted to start the cable news network because I felt that America needed an in-depth voice in what's going on in the news, and a news service that would cover those areas like the financial news and the sports news that aren't adequately covered. You can do so much more in 24 hours than you can in 24 minutes.
If Alexander the Great could conquer the known world, why couldn't I start CNN? I thought it through really carefully, but I'd studied a lot more than most of my competitors. Most people haven't worked as hard as I have or studied as hard as I have, because when you look back in my life, most of my decisions, almost all of them, were brilliant. I got the idea for CNN for a number of reasons, but one primarily was that I worked till 6 or 7 o'clock at night. After I drove home from work, by the time I got there, the early news was over, and I had to go to bed at 10 because I got up real early to go to work the next morning, and I missed the 11 o'clock news. We didn't have a 10 o'clock news then. So I never saw television news, and I knew there were a lot of people like me. I knew that if it was on all the time, and all news radio had already proven successful. So I figured, if it worked on radio, it'd work on TV too.
And since we're going to be on for such a long period, continuously, we sign on June 1, and barring satellite problems in the future, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, we will cover it live. That will be our last event. We'll play the national anthem one time, and that's all.
It was a whole new concept.
Yeah, legend. So what has happened is that he saw the need. There was only 3 broadcasting stations here in the United States. And he thought, well, I'm going to do something for those people that cannot see the news at 11 o'clock at night because they go to sleep. How interesting. That was 1980. Right now, 40 years now, we are having the same opportunity. So that's why I want you to start thinking like Ted Turner and not like if you will be an egomaniac. Do you think that CNN would have had the same impact if 24 hours they would have been talking about Ted Turner and how incredible Ted Turner was?
Well, they wouldn't. And you'd also see that the current challenges around the world are often led by people talking about themselves and how great they are, and not talking about their audience or thinking about what the audience needs. Not having a go at anybody, but it's just a truth.
Exactly. So that's how the whole thing goes. So let's just dive a little bit and try to start thinking like broadcasting moguls, because I think that's exactly where we should be looking at. So right now, if you think about it, if you think of the news, what we are going to be thinking of is, of course, we're going to be doing the ABC, the CBS, the NBC, the Fox, the CNN, the BBC. That's what the major broadcasting companies are. Those guys we're not going to be competing with because, of course, they are the big guys there. So that's just impossible. Now, if we also start analyzing what is also available, we can see that there's other channels. So, besides that we're going to have the specialty channel. So we can have the Disney Channel, the USA Channel. We can have a comedy network. We can have the MTV. I do not even know if that exists anymore. So we have different channels. But now if we dig even deeper, we're going to find these, which I think is even more interesting. This is just a list of the thousands and thousands and thousands of channels which are there, which possibly we don't even know about. So when we are trying to create a strong footprint for us on the internet, we have one amazing medium, which, by the way, is not a social media platform. Most people get confused because, of course, you can like and you can comment, and they say, yeah, well, YouTube goes and it is the same as Facebook or as Twitter. It's a complete different thing. First of all, YouTube is the second biggest search engine there is in the internet. After Google, it's also a Google property. So we have to think about it. So they offer you the possibility of start a channel with you. What is the biggest mistake that speakers do? They create a channel, and that channel is going to be YouTube/channels/name of speaker. And that is what it is all about. It's exactly the same thing as we are telling you before. If Ted Turner would have started his channel and the whole channel would have been about Ted Turner and everybody will be talking about Ted Turner, of course, I mean, nobody would have watched anything, but he figured out what his audience wanted, and he started creating programs that were related to what his audience wanted. Now that we know that our speakers, I mean, the people that we're looking for, the people that we're looking for to attract as much as possible are speakers. I mean, who else would you think, Dave, will benefit from the content that we have in that channel?
Well, obviously entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who want to get their stuff out of their niche, people who are running a charity, people have a tribe or an organization, people who have a CSR that they want to be able to publicize, people who have a really important cause that they want to make sure the world gets to know about. There's something I was going to throw in earlier, which I forgot, but just came back to me, Ernesto, and it's really, it was inspired by what you said there about YouTube being the world's second most important search engine. If you're umming and ahhing about getting onto YouTube, imagine you got a chance to make your own content directly onto Google. Not putting it onto a website that Google finds, but writing it onto Google. That's what YouTube is. Yeah,
correct. So now we have an audience. We know that it's not about us. Now we have an audience. We know what the audience is all about. So then we have to start thinking, well, what would be the shows, what would be the programming that they will be very interested in seeing? So as you can see, if you go there to the channel, there's going to be the description of your channel, which is going to be the channel keywords. So after a lot of work, I realized that these were the best channels that I could find to describe the content that I will be able to provide. So business growth, entrepreneurship, personal development, professional speaking, virtual speaking, consulting, mentoring, etc., etc. So would that describe more or less, Dave, the right kind of content that we can provide to our audience? So we know who the audience is. Would that describe more or less the kind of content that our audience is going to like?
It describes pretty much what the world that we're involved in. And I mean, I couldn't see all of it there for long enough to look through everything, but it pretty much, it ticks a lot of the boxes. That, yeah, I mean, it does certainly tell people about the things that they need to be ticking off, but there's like a million words underneath it that people can start to own.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the whole point. So now we have what the channel is all about. So now what we're going to do, and this is the slide which is going to blow your mind because it's going to make everything perfectly clear. So here we go. I'm just going to make it big so that you can see the whole thing. So we have Speak in Dubai YouTube channel. We have the speakers, wannabe speakers, experts, coaches, and entrepreneurs. Those are going to be the audience. That's a perfect niche for us. And then we have all those different keywords which are going to describe each and every topic that might be interesting for our audience. Now, here's what it's going to be really interesting. If you think about it, the way that YouTube calls it, they call it playlists. Those playlists are the way that you sort out each and every one of the videos that you create. So what happens is that if you think about it in broadcasting terms, your playlists is your programming. So if you think about what we were saying a little bit earlier, you could have a program which is on business growth or entrepreneurship or personal development or whatever it is, and then you create your programming playlists. You create every single one of these keywords becomes actually a playlist. Now, let me make it clearer for you because possibly you're saying, what is this guy talking about? Okay, so let me just go into another channel. Let me go into the channel because the internet is full of channels which are for foodies. And this is just somebody that is called Home Cooking Adventure. She has 1.3 million followers, and she's using the exact same recipe that I'm going to be talking about. So if you can see, you go over there and you see exactly what the channel is about. It's about Home Cooking Adventure, new recipe videos every week. So she says when the shows are going to be showing and what's the channel about. That's just very, very clear. So now if we go a little bit deeper, we are going to see that she has her playlists. each and every playlist that she has is a channel keyword. So every keyword becomes a playlist. And now in one playlist, you have 15 videos, 10 videos, 25 videos, whatever it is. So possibly you remember that I was mentioning in another show that it is 421 videos that you require. Now you know why. Because if you have 30 keywords and you need to have 30 different playlists or 25 different playlists, and in every playlist you're going to have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 different videos, that's what's going to happen. So don't get overwhelmed. Now you know exactly how it is built. First of all, you need to find out what your audience is. You need to make a description of what your channel is about. You have to find out exactly what your keywords are going to be, and then you have to create those playlists, and then you have to start populating those lists with different shows and different videos that you're having there. And then before you know it, you are going to become the authority in your niche. Now, if you would like to compete in the cooking niche, or if you would like to compete in the gaming niche, or if you would like to compete in the blogging niche, that's going to be very difficult. But guess what? Nobody in the speaking industry is doing this. This is information coming straight from the big guys. And I have researched everybody, and nobody's doing it. And this is the reason why Dave and I have been working so hard in creating this kind of content.
I love it. I think it's absolutely stunning what you've shared. And also, there's one thing to consider as well, that there might not be a lot of speakers who are stepping in and realizing exactly what you're talking about. But if you really want to get that niche working, get your expertise as a speaker and throw it at one of the niches where nobody's doing this. How many plumbers are talking about plumbing? Okay, maybe it's difficult to monetize, you've got to physically get there, but you could still have an affiliate site where you're selling equipment online and you have the authority on it. If you've got great speaking ability, why fight people for the same gene pool of clients? Why not turn your skill set, which at the end of the day is presenting, onto something that people haven't even thought of yet? And right now, with the amount of technology and changes and things that are coming, you're in a perfect position. There's enough for everybody. We've just gone from the gigs that used to be in your town or maybe your vicinity to being across 7 billion potential clients around the world. Is there enough speaking gigs for everybody? 100%.
Absolutely. So your important mindset change for today is think like Ted Turner, not like an egomaniac. That's incredibly important. Make sure that you figure out what are going to be the channel keywords that you're going to require. You require between 20 and 30 keywords. They are saying that the right number is about 25, 20 to 25. That's the right number. And then you're going to create different playlists, which are going to be based, giving information to that. And you possibly it's going to take you a year because you're going to be creating all this content. But guess what? After that year, you are the authority in that specific market, and hardly anybody's going to be able to take you down. That's the same story as PewDiePie, as Mr. Beast, all these guys. And you know what? They will not be sharing this information. I mean, it's actually research and reverse engineering that got me to this clue. And that I think that you need to take into consideration. So here's the greatest opportunity. I want you to please pay attention to this because this is incredibly powerful, and I haven't heard anybody talking about this. Here you can see the biggest subscriber. Well, actually it's the second biggest subscriber because there's an Indian company that does Indian music at the #1, but actually PewDiePie, he has 150 million subscribers. Now, 150 million subscribers. Now, if we go next to the next YouTuber that is also really very big, has 38 million subscribers, and that is Mr. Beast. So we go from 150 to 38, already a huge difference. And then if we go from Mr. Beast and we go to all the late night show hosts like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and all the people which are in that space, 7 million subscribers. And then we have Gary Vaynerchuk, 2.6 million. And then we have Tony Robbins in the very top. So just as a start, Dave, this is insane. I mean, we're talking about the humongous differences. I mean, just look at the big difference between PewDiePie and then also getting Mr. Beast. Now, these might not be making too much sense to you yet, because I haven't shown you slide number 2, which is going to reveal why this is the biggest opportunity that there is for us speakers. So let's go to this slide. So now we can see we go all the way from 1.4 million with Tony Robbins, and then we get into what I call the 1 million subscribers club. And there you can see several. I mean, we can see the Russell Brunson, we can see the Tai Lopez, we can see the Dean Graziosi, we can see the Dan Lok. There's a number of them, not that many, but let's say it's going to be about 10 or 15. Then after 1 million subscribers, suddenly there's nothing, absolutely nothing, until we get to most of the speakers which have been doing quite well on the pre-pandemic world, that they had about 5,000 subscribers and about 75 videos. That's what more or less it was. So several of the speakers that were paid $15,000, $10,000, $12,000 for their presentations, they are on this category. And then guess what happens, which I think is super interesting. Then we go into the fact that there is nothing also, and then all of the other speakers, which are what I call the screaming for attention crowd, which have only 20 videos and about 50 subscribers. Those are the lost souls of YouTube. Now, what is the biggest opportunity, Dave? The biggest opportunity is that right now, positioning ourselves with what we're going to be showing today as a speaker, as an expert, as an author, is going to be super easy, because we don't want to be the 150 million. You don't want to be the 38 million. All we need to have is 2,000-3,000 subscribers and X amount of videos, which I will be explaining you how to do it, and you will be in the perfect position to take advantage of this great opportunity. What do you think of that, Dave?
I think you're absolutely right. Here's one of the big challenges for most people. They start going and they just go, right, I can't do this. It's not working. It's not taking off. But they don't realize that it's got to grow. And you've got to think about the algorithms and what YouTube are clearly wanting to do. I mean, you've got there at the very beginning, you've got PewDiePie at the very top of the food chain, and then you've got Mr. Beast down, but you've got 38 million, oh, that seems tiny, between Mr. Beast, and then you've got 150 million with PewDiePie. Now, those gaps seem massive, but you've got to really put them into perspective of the other people that are near you. And it reminds me about the fact, I don't know if you've seen that, we haven't got that cartoon with us, about the two guys that are putting on their training shoes, and a bear comes into the cave. And one guy says, don't bother putting on your training shoes. You're never going to outrun the bear. He says, I don't need to. I just need to outrun you. And that's exactly what this case is about. It's not saying that you've got to be all the way to Tony Robbins. He's got a different food chain. He's got a different business formula. But what you can do is certainly raise yourself above the crowd that we have right now. And that will give you a maximum opportunity just to be noticed and to be able to monetize it and create relationships around your brand and your business. And it also means when you post something, you get effect and a knock on, and you won't have to pay for advertising. So it's really worth sticking around for today's show. We're going to share with you tons of ideas. And
what is also very interesting is if we go into our playing space, so we can just forget about the PewDiePies and the Tony Robbins and the Vaynerchuks, because those are in a league of their own. Russell Brunson from 10 years ago, we know him personally from 10 years ago, and he wasn't as big, but he implemented, that was a big thing. Tai Lopez and Dan Lok and Dean Graziosi, of course, they have been there for a while, so of course they have the league of their own. Now, once again, there's a huge gap. Then most of the speakers that were doing quite well in the speaking industry before the pandemic are the ones that have 75 videos average and 5,000 subscribers. Now, over here, the screaming for attention majority that have only 20 videos and 50 subscribers, that's more or less where we are. So what we're going to be learning today is how we can actually go from where we are from the Lost Souls, 20 videos, 50 subscribers, into a bit bigger than the 5,000 subscribers, because there's nothing, absolutely nothing. And this is an incredible opportunity, because while we are here in lockdown, still, or it is voluntary lockdown, nobody's doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. Everybody is still standing still.
In fact, what they are doing is they're watching videos. They're not producing them, because so many influencers say, I've got nothing to talk about. I've been in my house. Everyone's seen me talking about being in my house. Where's my new content going to come from? Well, you're going to find out by watching this show.
You have to understand that you are not your audience. That's just a very important thing to take into consideration. You are not creating videos for you. You are creating videos for someone else. So the important thing is to learn to figure out what your possible consumer base wants. And those are the kinds of videos that you're going to be important for people. And those are videos which are going to become relevant to your audience. So that's an important thing. Right now, for many people, starting and getting in front of a camera is daunting. It's scary. It's something that they have never done and they feel very uncomfortable with. So the reason why you have to do more videos is because that's how you're going to be getting your education. And that's why it's very important that you think more in quantity instead of quality. Dave, our first videos, I mean, I remember when we started videos, what was it, 10, 15 years ago, our videos were crap. And we have been improving every single.
I remember my first videos, I was using green screen and doing it on my old PC, which had about as much processing power as my toenail. And so what would happen was it had a green screen and it had me speaking in front of it. And literally sometimes parts of my head would go missing as it couldn't quite render everything properly. A bit like when people are doing Zoom and they're trying to show off by showing you've got a backdrop of some incredible logo. And if they move their head back like this, only their chin is showing. And then they go like that and suddenly the whole head comes back again. So yes, those are the early days of videos, but things have changed quite a bit since then.
Exactly. So don't be afraid of just making videos, because it is part of the education. The most important thing is quantity, not quality. That is absolutely critical. Quantity, quantity, quantity. The more you make, the more professional your videos are going to be looking like. So that was just an introduction. I hope that you are finding it interesting, and what we're going to be learning is going to be really interesting. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to tick the notification button, because there's going to be a lot going on there.
Now, this is something that we talked about in terms of what Gary Vaynerchuk was saying, and he was just reeling off the facts. I don't think we've got a video about it today, that you should really be thinking about quantity rather than quality. And I know a lot of people in the influencer space who are so concerned that they want to make it completely on their brand and get it exactly right. And so they only post every couple of days, but when they do, it's ultra relevant. And I've got one friend in particular who's a very, very good marketer, but he hasn't got a huge following on social media, but he's a social media marketer. And I said to him, you can't be in a position where you tell people what an expert you are if you don't have enough numbers to prove that you can really walk the talk, which he agreed. And so he agreed to start posting more frequently. And the thing is, you may say, well, I've got 1,000 people, you know, I post it and I get maybe 300 people, if you're lucky, or 50 people actually interacting. But what you don't know is, of your 1,000 people, it doesn't mean that those 1,000 are the only ones that get it. Over a period of a week, it could be 7,000 people that you reach. They all get a chance to see your content, but only some of them are starting to react. But some of them, when they start to see it and it's regular, you'll start showing up on their algorithm, and especially if they like it or they comment on it, you'll start popping into their feed. So it's a case of snowballing. You got to keep the whole thing going.
In order for you to get what you want, YouTube is relevance. You need to actually be talking about relevance. Now, when we were in the pre-pandemic world, this is how we decided what we were going to be talking about to our audience. So basically, what we wanted to say and what our audience would be interested in. Right now, the virtual speaker relevance model has changed, because now what happens is that you also have to take into consideration what your audience is searching for. So what you're interested in, what you want to say, and what your audience is searching for. This is the relevance model of how things are going to be working now. And that is just super important, because most people start doing videos still in the previous model, in the old model. They are doing videos of what they want to talk about and what they think their audience is interested in. But now what you need to take into consideration is what are people searching for. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you can create a video, but your video is not going to be seen by no one.
Because nobody searched for it. I mean, here's the thing about it, and this is what's so different about the lockdown world that we're in right now. Even if we're not in lockdown, you're outside of it, it's still the mindset that goes with it. If you look about that one with the 3 circles, what they're interested in, what you want to say, the green one used to be what your clients were asking for. Online, it's Google that's driving that. It's Google words, it's your keywords. So what are they searching for online? Which means that you can really dominate when you think about it, but you can also be completely ignored, even if you're great at what you do. I know a ton of really top speakers who've got 0 presence online, really talented, but they just don't get any calls for doing virtual work, and they find it very hard to actually be noticed by people because there's nothing online to prove that they exist. So this is really important stuff.
Yeah, it absolutely makes complete sense, because if you take into consideration that most people say, yeah, but you know, what kind of content am I going to be making for the virtual world? What kind of content am I going to be making for making YouTube videos or making Facebook videos or making Instagram videos? And then what they do is they take their phone and then they start talking about some sort of content. And if nobody's searching for that content, nobody's going to watch that video. So right now, for example, if you noticed, we are creating these videos because right now we know that there's a market, there's a search for what makes my videos relevant. And this is exactly why we're making that. So we are adjusting our way of thinking. And that's one of those things that you really need to take into consideration. Now, if you're a speaker, now that we are in the virtual world, we need to know that previously we only needed one reel. We only needed one video, which was our casting reel, how we call it. But right now, one of the challenges is that is just not enough. Because Dave and I, we have a number of different videos in how we promote ourselves. But if I'm going to hire you to do a virtual presentation, I want to see some evidence. I want to see some proof that you are good in doing videos, that you know what you're doing virtually, because if not, it's just a bit of a risk. And right now what's going to happen, and this is my take, what's going to happen, I think it's going to be, even if we go back into the normal world, a lot of the events are going to still be done virtually, and the virtual world is just already upon us. This is not going to change. So you need to have in your portfolio not only your demo reel or your character reel or your casting reel, however you want to call it, but also you need to have proof that you know how to create and work with video.
Well, the thing is, every single person, when you start going for an online world, you've got to remember that they now have access to every single speaker with a show reel, with a demo reel or sizzle reel on the planet. So even if they're not going to bring you in and fly you into their special conference, all they need to do is just access somebody who can stand in front of their laptop. Today I was hosting a big conference for GITEX. I had Microsoft, Lenovo, STC, and Digital 14's representatives. And we were just doing a Zoom conference with many hundreds of people watching, talking about 5G and edge computing. You don't need to look too hard to be able to get access to somebody who can do the job for you. So you want to make sure that when your name comes up, or even better, making sure your name comes up first, that you've got plenty of evidence that you can take care of all their needs. Doesn't matter what their subject is or what their particular areas of what they want to do for solutions for their team or for their events. You can say, no problem, I've done it before, here's your evidence. And that's why you need a bank of relevant content as well.
There's 2 attractive legs from a virtual speaker. And first of all is going to be your strong online profile, which I will explain to you what that is in a moment, and then quantity, again, quantity of video content. So I have a question for you. If you're a speaker, if you're an author, if you're an expert, how many videos do you have right now online? If I will go and search for your name in Google Videos, in Google itself, how many videos are going to be appearing there? And this is an important question because this is going to be a metric very, very soon, if not already. So that's an important question for you to think about. I have a video here that I want to show you so that you know exactly what are the two different elements that you require to be an attractive virtual speaker. Before we went into the pandemic, into lockdown and into the virtual world, what we were teaching our students in Speak Internationally, Speak in America, Speak in Europe, Speak in Dubai, was that they needed a strong speaker media kit and also that they needed a casting reel. Now, what has changed from then till now? Well, right now, what you need to understand is that your casting reel is not enough anymore. So if you do not know what a casting reel is, please have a look at this one so that you will understand.
My name is Ernesto Verdugo and I am an international speaker, author, and event promoter. I pride myself for having over 25 years of speaking experience, delivering my message, helping people from over 119 nationalities. As a speaker, my topic is big data, innovation, change, and international cultural relationship. Speaking in 3 different languages has given me the possibility of touching lives of people all over the world. I am now not only speaking, but I also organize events and I also help other speakers that want to become international. We have an event that is called Speak in Dubai, but we also help people speak in London, speak in Thailand, speak in Australia. Speaking internationally is full of opportunities. There's opportunities everywhere. And it is something that most people don't really realize because they always try to speak in their home country. The moment that you go internationally, you start an incredible career, start seeing the world. It has opened my world in ways that I cannot even begin to describe. I am the 247th most traveled person in the world, and I am a recognized personality in the Middle East. And I have had the opportunity to bring over 200 speakers to Dubai and other places around the world. And I know that I can help you get your speaking career internationally. Once again, this is Ernesto Verdugo, and if you would like to find out more about what we're doing, go to ernestoverdugo.com or visit our community of speakers at speakindubai.com.
Perfect. So now you know what a casting reel is. That is part of what it used to be very important. Right now, you need a lot more than that. And let me explain to you why. Anyway, your speaker media kit is not going to change. Let me just run through some of the pieces of the speaker media kit, which is exactly what we do. If you need help with this, contact me at ernesto.today and I will be very happy to help you. Now, as you can see here, I am not showing a picture of me with people. I am showing a picture of me as a virtual speaker. Now, if you just go down here, I am just showing the credibility pieces that are important for me right now. Here there's a lot of testimonials. This is exactly what I have done. As you can see here, I am still portraying myself as a virtual speaker because right now we're in a virtual environment. What is what I do? I do webinars, video collaboration, live streaming, online summit, digital events, virtual experiences. What do you have in mind? I'm a virtual event producer. I'm a virtual event host and MC. I'm a virtual keynote speaker. So I have adapted every single thing that it's required to do that. Now, I have here my post-lockdown relevant topics, and all these topics are topics which are very relevant and very important to the marketplace right now. I changed what I was doing in the past, and that's the most important thing, that right now you need to adapt yourself. So as you can see here, there's all the credibility where I have worked with. There's testimonials from some of my recurring customers, the reasons why to hire me, and there's videos of me on stage actually speaking. and the media where I have been featured. I talk also about my web TV show and my podcast together with Dave, and my global experience, and highlights of all my events. So as you can see here, this is incredibly impressive. Why? Because what happens is when people are searching for me, and then they see all my videos, and then they see these, they say, wow, this is exactly the speaker that I would like to work with. So that's why previously you only needed a character reel, as I just showed you a moment ago. But right now you need not only this part, but you need a ton of different videos, because that's how you're going to show that you're actually a virtual presenter and that you know how to present virtually.
Very good. I'll tell you what, really, when I look back at all the stuff, all the material you had there that you gathered over many years of working around the world, I mean, the thing is, now there's a lot of the new generation of speakers that are coming through. We're going to be talking about one in particular with Ali Sherlock. But if you haven't got that content and you've been speaking, you've done lots of gigs, you can't fake that, and you certainly can't create it now. You can't catch up with it, but what you can do is use other strategies to create relevance for a virtual world. But those bits of those photos, those videos from gigs that you've done in the past are like gold dust now.
Yeah, because you cannot get them anymore. That's what I've been telling all of the speakers in our group. I keep on telling them, guys, you need to start moving ahead, because right now it's the greatest opportunity. Now, if you don't have those assets, don't worry, because by using YouTube, you will be able to actually position yourself perfectly as a speaker.
So, would you like to know the difference between a platform speaker and a virtual speaker, and how you can get yourself into the world of being a virtual speaker? Well, make sure you stick around for this. It will blow your mind.
Dave, I think it's just very interesting how the world is turning right now with everybody becoming a virtual speaker. Now, the question that we have to figure out is who is already doing it and what are they doing? So let's just see an example from speaker Eric Termund in how he's already implementing virtual speaking. Have a look.
And while we're not on stages like this, here we are in the studio, and I can't wait to show you what we've built. Hi everyone, and welcome to the studio. My name is Eric Termundi, co-founder of Now of Work and author of Rethink Work. I've spent the better part of the last decade surveying thousands of individuals, interviewing hundreds of people, and speaking on stages all over the world to truly understand what makes great organizations great and how we can create tomorrow's greatest places to work. Over the past weeks and months, we've been mastering new technology to bring the perfect format and presentation to your audience. Now, whether it's just us or otherwise, we can bring slides like this, or this, even this, into the presentation. But we don't need them necessarily. We could bring graphics and animations into the presentation as well. If we don't want that and we want to show a video, hey, check this out.
The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in.
But we don't necessarily need that either. The one thing I will promise you, though, is that you won't get an experience like this.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We've got a whole bunch of different angles that we can try. We can bring PowerPoint presentations in and have interactive storytelling come in and take place, or we can run an interactive Q&A with the audience so that we can create what tomorrow's greatest places of work look like. There are no playbooks for the future of work. There are no best practices just yet. It's us that gets to create them, because we can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow, but what we can do is to control the reality that we've got now and to create a more intentional future together. My name is Eric Termundi, and I can't wait to work with you soon.
I'll tell you what, the thing was so fascinating was how he turned his living room into an interactive studio using post-production techniques. So the things that buzzed in and buzzed out, he added them afterwards. And so if somebody wanted to have something dedicated to their company, he could easily put it together, but then get stuff to bounce around. Now that's always been there. It's always been something you could have had. But now when you start playing with it, the opportunities are massive to create something that's really tailor-made, interactive, and ahead of the game.
I have another video which I think is going to be resonating with us, Dave, very much, from another speaker, which was also a broadcaster with the BBC. And what is she doing right now?
We've all had to find new ways of doing things. My job is TV, and the virus forced me from the BBC studio into my basement. The venue changed, but the reporting didn't. Mayor, thank you for joining us. You had some pretty hard words for the president over the weekend, asking if the White House just wanted New York to drop dead. It's all about using the technology we have to communicate effectively to my TV viewers and to your audiences. I've realized that all those years I've spent as a television anchor, in a way, have brought me to this moment. I've had lots of experience sitting in studios interviewing people virtually. And if you can't have them in the room with you, you still have to be able to reach through a television lens or a computer lens and speak to them and get your message across. It's a format I'm comfortable with.
So that's an interesting take. I mean, we have been using now broadcasting. You can see that now broadcasters are also doing the exact same. And let me see, we just lost Dave. So anyway, I will just continue here. So now you see, this is another take. Now, this is another one that I think you're going to find incredibly interesting, because this is one of my favorite speakers, and the approach that he has been using to support himself as a virtual speaker, it's very interesting. Have a look.
Connection is the key to significant leadership. Now more than ever, we need good leaders that have the ability to connect. Hey everybody, what's up? We are live. My name is Clint Pulver. Thank you for joining me today in the studio for a virtual keynote. Welcome to the virtual studio, where we do virtual keynotes, workshops, coaching, and one-on-one consultation. We provided the highest production quality available through stage lighting, multiple camera angles. We've even got the drum set live mic'd up to create the on-stage experience that's engaging, entertaining, and leaves your people inspired. This is not your typical Zoom meeting or another webinar. We've created the ultimate virtual experience that's engaging, entertaining, and full of content that leaves your people inspired. Just because it's virtual doesn't mean it needs to lack in quality. Now more than ever, we need good leaders that have the ability to advocate as much as they develop. We need stronger teams that look out for each other, that understand the power of collaboration and innovation during times of uncertainty. If the virtual platform is something you're considering for your next event or team meeting, please let us know how we can help. I promise what we've created here will leave your people energized, uplifted, and inspired to be better for each other, your company, and the world.
Very good. Interesting to see how so many different speakers use the stuff they would normally use on a stage show and turn it into a studio show so they can reach more people, but they alter the base elements that they have to be able to reach more people like that. Very interesting.
So the question is, if you're a speaker, if you're an expert, if you're an author, what are you doing to get on the virtual world? Please leave us some comments, as we would really like to know. And let's move on to our next speaker, which for me, I think it's the one that resonates the most with me. He is doing something that is called the cinematic virtual keynotes. And his name is Brett Culp. Have a look.
As more of our events move onto virtual platforms, it's harder than ever to capture and hold the attention of your attendees. As a documentary filmmaker, I've spent my career creating powerful cinematic experiences for audiences in movie theaters and in their homes on Netflix and Hulu. As a speaker, I've presented keynotes at hundreds of live events, inspiring leadership and hope. Now, I'm creating something new. The cinematic virtual keynote. Come on, let's go on an adventure. If you're planning an online event, your speaker can be more than a Zoom call with a webcam. Your event can be more than countless talking heads in digital boxes. It can be an engaging multimedia experience. it can be a live show.
I want you to meet my friend Super Ewan, who has made a powerful impact in his community.
Hello everyone, I'm Ewan and I'm 9 years old.
With my filmmaking team here in our studio, we're producing memorable, imaginative presentations filled with uplifting stories, empowering insights, dynamic imagery, and humor. We're designing virtual keynotes optimized for the online experience, focused on leadership, embracing change, and building the heroic spirit in your culture.
Sometimes the fight is your friend. Sometimes the very thing that you feel like is breaking you apart is actually revealing the best in you.
Attendees can interact and ask questions in real time, with the moderation and my replies seamlessly incorporated into the presentation.
Real leadership is inviting people on a mission to do something extraordinary together.
The technology is cutting edge, but the goal is the same as if I was with you in person, to create that personal connection of one human, one heart, speaking to another.
Even in times of change and uncertainty, your work matters. Your life matters. And we need you in the world.
If you're considering an online event, we'd love to talk with you about creating a uniquely inspiring virtual keynote for your audience.
Well, I think that it really depends on what kind of speaker you are. I mean, this guy is excellent at doing a 3 to 4 minute live integrated stock footage plus poetry level performance. So what he's doing is recreating that in his own venue live for you. And so with computer graphics, with the ability to put speaking text over it, it will be a live interactive session. Now, I don't know many people that actually produce something like that live. Most people would do a keynote speech, tell a story, use PowerPoint, maybe use slides, do some games with the audience. So I think that what he does is a really good version of what he already does. And we should all look at it and say, well, how could we use some tips, some techniques to improve our own personal game? But not every speaker will want to do it the same way as him. But what I love from all the speakers that have been shown on today's episode is the range of interaction and adaptation that people have made to deal with being locked in and not being able to reach an audience live in an auditorium anymore.
We have been doing a lot of work with our customers on video and this kind of thing. And I think now more than ever, having a proper sizzle reel, having a proper media reel, having a proper casting reel, it's incredibly important. So I think might be interesting to see, for you guys to see what Dave and I have done for some of our customers. 84 episodes. We have finished now the 84th episode, and we just delivered a hell of a lot of incredible tips, contents, and blueprints on business that were only shared for our inner circle. How does that make you feel, Dave?
Feels good. I mean, we spent a lot of time researching that, and you and I, we did a deep dive into what we believe people would need to reinvent their businesses and come out in a digital way. And I think that the stuff that we shared there is just as relevant as it was then. But I think that if anything, people weren't quite as open to receive it as they are right now. The dust has settled. There's been quite a few months since then. And I think that people are now saying, okay, this is the new normal. We're not going back to the way things are. So what have you got for me? And that's why we're sharing this stuff with you now. And I hope it's been a useful experience for you to be able to make some notes and apply them to your business.
That is great. So we are just about finished right now. I think we have a new president. I haven't checked because, of course, I am just watching right now this with you guys. But let's just go back to see the live footage of what's going on there in Washington. And let's make sure that we see each other next week in the next episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.